All right, so just a quick breakdown on what narcissistic intermittent reinforcement is and the impact that it has on people who become victims of it. So, narcissistic intermittent reinforcement is a psychological manipulation technique that they often use to maintain control and power over other people. The strategy basically goes like it goes like this. With many victims that are unaware of the narcissist or whatnot, that they're dealing with one, they'll find themselves stuck in a toxic, harmful, and abusive situation despite knowing the pain and the damage that these relationships cause. And that power in that tactic lies in the ability to create confusion and dependency. And they distort the sense of reality in the victim's mind, right? So intermittent reinforcement basically refers to the pattern of giving rewards or positive reinforcement unpredictable, so it's unpredictable and it's irregular too, right? And that's the most important thing. It's a form of conditioning where rewards or positive responses occur at random intervals rather than on a fixed schedule. Like you do something nice for them, they're appreciative and reward you. A lot of times they may not act like it's a big deal, right? And so once they catch on to see what your pattern of response is based off how they acknowledge what you do, they learn the importance of what that means to you emotionally, right? So basically it's designed to create cycles of hope and frustration that keeps the victim engaged in seeking the next reward, right? So when we look at the psychological basis of it, intermittent reinforcement is grounded in operant, and it's a kind of, how can I say it? It's a conditioning, right? And it's when a reward or rewards multiple are given inconsistently, basically, and that triggers a powerful emotion like anticipation or a craving, and it also creates strong attachment to that person. And it's because of that unpredictability that causes individuals to continue engaging in the very behavior that's harmful to them, in the hopes that the next positive response will come after they get past the negative one, even if it's followed by another negative one. So really the impact on the brain, the unpredictability of intermittent reinforcement stimulates the dopamine system, which is a neurotransmitter system that responds to our feelings and the pleasure principle of rewards, right? So the brain starts to associate the cycle with anticipation of a reward. And over time, this increases the emotional bond between you and the narcissist. This emotional attachment becomes stronger the more you seek the approval or the attention or the affection of the narcissist. All right? So when we look at, well, how do they use intermittent reinforcement? Right? How do narcissists use this? And it's basically that cycle of idealization and then devaluation and then discard, right? And this is the frequent cycle in all these three phases that you're pretty well aware of. So I'm not going to go into them, but that cycle continues as the narcissist moves between idolizing you, then devaluing you for a brief moment, And then they're rewarding you out of the clear blue, and then it confuses you. Like, I thought I was doing so bad. I thought you didn't like this and that, and now they're praising you, and it's random. It's out of nowhere, and then a day or two later, it's followed by a bunch of criticism. Right? Confuses the victim, confuses the target, the person that this is being done to by the narcissist. A key tactic of narcissistic intermittent reinforcement is the inconsistency of praise and criticism. They may give you a compliment or show you love and affection one day, and then the next day it's met with coldness, like they're real standoffish, they're distant, they're not really talking. You don't know what's going on, right? Then the next day, they're upbeat, they're all over you, they're very affectionate, they're showing a lot of affection to you, and there's no reason to why they're doing this, right? That's a deliberate thing to make you unbalanced so that they cannot be predictable, so that you don't get the upper hand on what to expect out of them. All right, and this cycle creates for the victim, and it holds they hold on to the hope that the narcissist will return to the idolized phase, keeping them emotionally invested in that situation or that relationship, right? Despite the emotional toll of abuse that person is taking from that, right? And so when we think about it, why does it work so well? Well, just the natural way that human beings are wired to seek reward. When reward comes unpredictable, like in an unpredictable way, it creates an intense drive to continue to seek that reward. And if it's coming from the narcissist, they're gonna continually want and desire that from the narcissist, which keeps that person around. And ultimately that makes the person addicted to the narcissist's approval or affection, even when it's rare or fleeting from them. In the mind, the target, the victim, the person that's being the source of supply to the narcissist, at least, they have hopes that they can regain or win over the idolized version of the narcissist in that situation or that relationship. And some people, they go at it so hard that it keeps them locked in that cycle. And this is where a lot of the cognitive dissonance comes in, where the target experiences a psychological state where their beliefs and their actions are in conflict. They may know that the relationship is fully toxic, but the intermittent affection or validation they receive from time to time from that narcissist causes them to rationalize or justify staying in that situation. They hope that they can win back that original version of the narcissist, which was, in that love bombing phase, despite all the emotional pain that the narcissist put them through. A person might think, if I can just act better or do things in a certain way that they like, they'll start treating me like they did in the beginning. And that's where the intermittent reinforcement fuels this belief, even when the narcissist's behavior is completely abusive. And this is where trauma bonds are developed, because intermittent reinforcement contributes to the formation of a trauma bond. And that trauma bond occurs when an individual becomes emotionally attached to an abuser due to intense emotional experiences that's associated with, altering between love and abuse. And that's a powerful bond. And it can be incredibly difficult for a person to leave that abusive type of situation. That's when people are saying, well, why don't they just leave? They're in mental conflict. They're psychologically locked in and confused. So if a person already had low self-esteem and they were seeking validation, the person that is subjected to narcissistic abuse often suffers, the consequences from that low self-esteem, because the narcissists are going to exploit it in every way. They're going to use praise and then affection and then cutting it off with criticism and ridicule. And so that intermittent reinforcement exploits all of your vulnerabilities, causing the source of supply to depend on the narcissist for their sense of self-worth. So now they have to, in order to feel like they're okay or that they're doing good, it has to come from the narcissist. And this comes into effect where a lot of you folks, when you meet people still, even if they weren't with a narcissist, but this was from a parent, you can get somebody and they're totally messed up in the head to where why your relationship can't progress. And you might have them where they're keeping their folks, their parents, all in their business, all in y'all business. Everything that goes down has to go through their parents. Even though they're fully grown, they're still going through their parents for stuff, because that intermittent reinforcement was established from a very early point in time in their upbringing. And they're still stuck in that. And the parent, being the narcissist, or using these tactics, will always have a certain amount of control over the individual that you're with. So think about it. If you were with someone that was with a narcissist and they haven't fully dealt with this, they're never truly going to be fully committed to you. That narcissist will always have some sort of stronghold psychologically on them, unless they fully gotten healed and gotten treatment and therapy and all that stuff to where they're fully over it. Right? I mean, that's just the way it goes. And so, a lot of times when people are wondering like what they're dealing with when they're with individuals, you're dealing with a lot of past, things that psychologically mess that person up or has that person stuck in a certain mindset or phase that they just can't readily break. And whoever put them in that situation, in the deepest inner parts of their psyche, in the core of them, they still long for the approval of that person. So when you come along, no matter how much you do for them, and they'll appreciate it and stuff like that, but it's always going to be in their minds, why couldn't so-and-so have appreciated when I did this for them? It's never going to be, they're always going to be cross-referencing it back to the person who they so long to give them that acknowledgement and appreciation. So this is for people who are healed too. If you were with somebody that had this done to them, you're going to have issues because they're not healed. So, yeah, that's all I have to say for this. Anybody who wants a one-on-one consultation, click the link in the description box. Shoot me an email. My email's there. And if you found this video useful, consider to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, have a good one.